Hello friends, let me give you a long introduction before we get down to business. Practicing emotional detachment. I have preferred to head this topic in a positive way to keep my distance because this political controversy is already stressing me out, and I guess you are too, due to the large amount of conflicting news coming out every day. Let me express today my mystical and spiritual side to try and heal so much confusion. Detachment is the art of keeping one's distance from earthly affairs in order to maintain one's mental health and not to be too affected by worldly problems. Detachment, also expressed as non-attachment, is the state in which a person suppresses his or her attachment to the desire for existing things, persons or objects. Detachment, as a liberation from desire and suffering, is a fundamental principle of Eastern philosophy which I have admired all my life. In contrast, attachment, which is the inability to practice detachment, is seen as the main obstacle to a serene and fulfilling life. The lack of detachment produces a continual preoccupation and lack of quietness about personal desire and ambition. Let justice do its work, and God do his. The world is too heavy to carry, as we journalists sometimes do, and this produces the so-called professional neurosis. Cast your burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain you, as the Bible says. Cast all your anxiety on him because he will sustain you, and never allow the righteous to be shaken. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of much more value than they? According to Zen Buddhism, detachment doesn't mean the absence of thought, but rather the state of being without blemish, untainted by thought. That is a state of purity, integrity, and rightness. It consists in separating oneself from one's thoughts and opinions in depth, so as not to be damaged by them on the mental and emotional level, and to enjoy spiritual peace. Let's start. Opinion article. Emotional attachment to elections. None of the candidates are free from defects, but one of them is the greatest obstacle to evil. Need for transparency in legal actions. The coalition calls for this polarisation to be reduced. The archons collect the energy of concern. Focus on a positive timeline. U.S. Army Command sizes trusted pieces. This software has already been located in Frankfurt. News on electoral anomalies is multiplying. There will be a smooth transition, says Pompeo. The political situation is becoming very delicate in the USA. The legal battle is not being easy in all cases. The Democratic candidate no longer has the 270 electoral votes. Let's start. Many people are worried about the outcome of the US elections. The forces of light have communicated that whoever becomes president will not influence their overall plan for planetary liberation, according to a brief message to the Safis population posted by the Cobra Contact on the 2012 portal of the Intelligence Center for the Victory of Light. They have also asked people to release the emotional attachment and emotional investment in the outcome of this choice, as the archons collect the energy generated by worry, anger, fear, frustration, and uncertainty, amplified and distributed through the planetary energy network. The forces of light are also asking everyone to decrease political polarization and begin to see people as an embodiment of their soul, regardless of their political orientation. That said, none of the presidential candidates are without their faults, and both have a degree of involvement with the dark forces, although it's true that the blonde president is the lesser of two evils, and is the greatest obstacle to the globalist model of the new world order that threatens the freedom, and that is an addition of mine. The election process is not over and must be completed in accordance with federal law. Russia, China, Brazil, and many other countries have not yet recognized the Democratic candidate as president-elect and are waiting for the legal procedures to be completed and recognize the new president, however he or she may be. There have been serious allegations of election fraud, and the mainstream media have been instructed not to investigate or report on the anomalies according to this message. However, legal action is being taken because transparency is needed. Above all, we need to refocus on our optimum ascension timeline, victory of light. Confiscated fake computers. A US Army commander has seized the computers that have changed thousands of votes with the software located in Frankfurt, according to Susana Corniero in Alerta Digital. It has also been confirmed that the software has already been located in Frankfurt via IP, in the offices of a Spanish supply of electronic voting system and electoral technology. According to the analysis provided by Richard Barris, director of the Big Data Poll, the Democratic candidate would no longer have the 270 electoral votes he would need to be appointed president, while the Republican candidate would have gained the advantage. If this trend continues, the incumbent president would be guaranteed re-election. In any event, the legal battle is not being easy, because there are judges who are reluctant to accept the complaints or investigate the cases, but the last word will be given to the US Supreme Court. The electoral data is changing radically, and the calculations are now more favorable to the re-election of the president than to a first term for the Democratic candidate. The president would now have 232 votes as opposed to 226 for his Democratic rival. He would have won 25 states as opposed to his rivals' 19, although 6 states are still in dispute. We would be winning the presidential election in most states and would have the lead in the Electoral College vote contest. The incumbent president is contesting election results in several states where he has a narrow advantage. The Republican campaign claims that invalid ballots were counted in favor of the Democrats, that ballots were discarded from the Republicans, and that the election observers were unable to observe the vote counting process in any meaningful way. There will be a smooth transition, says Pompeo. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made it clear at a press conference on Tuesday that the world could be confident that there would be a smooth post-election transition, but it would be for a second Republican administration. Republicans approved the challenge. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said on Tuesday that there is no cause for alarm, that the president will be backing of Republican lawmakers is continuing this legal battle, a process that could go until December. Republicans on Capitol Hill indicated that they are willing to allow the president to exhaust his legal remedies and charges during the next few weeks, until the states certify the elections at the beginning of December and the Electoral College meets on 14 December. Witnesses of anomalies during the electoral process filed their complaints and sworn statements. Witnesses are afraid of reprisals for telling the truth and must suffer lies and harassment from the media. Intelligence operation. The president has the support of senior military commanders and great strategists who have performed the greatest military and intelligence feat in history. The combination of the Dominion software with the Hammer and scorecard networks turned 1,000 Republican votes into Democratic votes in 47 counties in Michigan, 28 counties in Georgia, and 30 other states. Thanks to his information and intelligence services, the president knew his opponent's plan, so his strategy was to let them commit all these crimes with the necessary precautions to obtain irrefutable evidence against them. When the voting was over and the polls closed, the president did not go to sleep, but met with members of the National Security Agency in a room in the Eisenhower building inside the White House. There they watched the cyber attacks all night. Tricks. This trap has been set up in 3 ways: hacking into the computer system, sending sacks of mail with false votes, and moving boxes with genuine votes to burn them in containers, as was the case with the missing votes of 3,500 Army soldiers in Georgia. There are numerous videos of these actions and many witnesses. As for the hacking, these tools were combined: the Hammer network, the scorecard app, and the Dominion software to control the voting machines belonging to a company linked to Clinton Foundation. Dominion led to moments during the night when the Democratic vote went up in a matter of seconds, while the Republican vote froze. The existence and use of this software was discussed on television by General Flynn's lawyer and future FBI Director Sidney Powell, despite the fact that almost all the networks were silent about it, stressing that it is a national security issue. Rudy Giuliani joined Steve Bannon on Wednesday, and they have witnesses from Dominion who stepped forward to testify. According to Giuliani, Coleman has people from the community and he has people from Dominion, and they were the real observers who were excluded, 2 of whom were left behind after all the Republicans have been left out, and they were the ones who got the evidence that they received 100,000 votes, and they also have some photographs. 3 experts' opinions. An expert named John Brackey, co-founder and director of Audit USA, warned about the Dominion voting machines. They are the optical scanners where the most cheating occurs. The Dominion voting machine used in elections in many swing states present inherent risks that experts have known about for months. An expert explained why it's impossible for the Democratic candidate to get hundreds of thousands of votes at once. Hans von Spakovsky, manager of the Election Law Reform Initiative of the Heritage Foundation, an expert in the legal area of elections, spoke to Breitbart News on Thursday, November 5th, and explained why sudden spikes in votes in key states for the Democratic candidate are impossible in a normal election. Massachusetts Institute of Technology scientist says computer algorithm transferred votes in Michigan. On Tuesday, Dr. Shiva Ayadurai, the inventor of email, a scientist and engineer, shared election results from the mathematical analysis in his vote counting team in 4 major counties in Michigan. Dr. Shiva and his staff found evidence of the 138,000 vote shift in Michigan. News. During the recounts in the states where these traps were committed, the Republican guards were forbidden to come within 50 or 100 meters of the recount tables, or were even not allowed into the room in which, if it had transparent screens, was covered with cardboard. In states where this was still not enough, they would send out postal bags with thousands of false postal votes, whose imaginary voters had been born since 1910 or were registered elsewhere, so that in many counties there would be more votes than there were registered. To this end, the election laws in the Democratic states were changed without notice, so that ballots could be submitted up to 9 days after the end of the election, in violation of the Constitution, which says that the election will be on 3rd November and will end at 8 p.m. and that no votes can be cast later. As for the states where this law couldn't be drafted, there is already an affidavit from Pennsylvania's second postmaster stating that the principal postmaster ordered them to change the date of votes arriving after Election Day, and the matter is already in the hands of Lindsey Graham, head of the Senate Justice Committee. That's all for today. Thanks a lot for listening. Thank you.